Ben, walk me through the latest, your connect the dots with our favorite topic, Ukraine and the Europe economy.
Morning, Steve. Morning, Eric. Well, the first story I've got for you here, as far as I'm aware, hasn't yet been reported in the English-speaking media, though I did do a live stream on this yesterday. It's the theme on this, Steve, on the juxtapositions I'm going to talk about today. The theme is you can't spend the same dollar twice. If you spend a dollar on X, you cannot spend it on Y. That's the principle. So easy to say, so beyond the grasp of our sociopathic overlords. So here in Italy, this week, it was in the Italian press that the Court of Rome, the Tribunal of Rome, the criminal court, has suspended from October the 15th, so it's yet to take place, but the decree has been signed. And for 6 months, the courts have suspended all of the most serious criminal cases, that is to say, for murder, organized crime, robberies, aggravated blackmail. Those have all been suspended because these cases have to be done in a certain period of time. Because of the shortage of judges, they don't want to start these cases yet because they feel that the statute is cut in halfway through. So they're just not going to hear them. They're just suspending them. The president of the Italian court, Roberto Reali, when he signed this decree back on August the 12th, said that there was a shortfall of judges of 14.5%, and that was the complaint. Now, that's a serious situation, but this, and I got a number of such stories that I will go into as much as time allows. This is in part due to a consequence that the Italian government, let's not forget the Prime Minister Mario Draghi, having resigned in disgrace a month or so ago, had recklessly spent 500 million euros on armaments to Ukraine, 800 million euros for the welcoming of Ukrainian asylum seekers in Italy. That is a minimum of 1.3 billion euros, and this has knock-on consequences. Okay, let's go on to the second point. But let me just say that again: the courts, the criminal courts, the last bastion of a civilized society, are now freezing up. Back to Scotland. We spoke last week that in Edinburgh, the rubbish, and we had the photos, the rubbish was piling up there, and the Scottish First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, came out and said somewhat offhandedly to Scottish taxpayers that there's not a bottomless pit. Well, this crisis is now spreading. Now, rubbish is piling up in Aberdeen, in Glasgow, and the Public Health Authority of Scotland said that if organic waste builds up, it can become a risk to human health. Organic waste includes food, animal waste from excrement, human waste, including nappies and manure. And obviously, in the middle of August, this has massive health considerations. But yet again, Steve, the message is the same, that we cannot spend the same dollar twice. And if we wanted to send all of our savings over to Ukraine to fight an unwinnable war, this has knock-on consequences for our public services. Now, moving on, another story, this is on the Times, headlined, "Thousands die at home as hospitals run out of space." And it's simply the story here that around 2,800 people have, over the last year, have died at home because there hasn't been enough space to put them in overcrowded hospitals. Why aren't we building more hospitals? Well, because our sociopathic overlords were desperate to send all of our money over to President 10%ski, and now there's few savings left to fulfill our essential needs. Here's a similar article. Steve, I am citing here the Times, the Financial Times. Right? These are the most sedate newspapers in existence. They're not hair on fire. Here's the headline from the Financial Times: "People are going to die. Verdict from front line of Britain's energy crisis." And there's an interview here with one charity, head of a chief executive, Brian Thomas, of CEO of Hospitality and Hope. I close with this personal anecdote because I think it illustrates absolutely the situation that we have here in the West, in the United States, and it's a problem that is only going to get worse as we head into autumn. He cites a conversation that he had with a woman with a child who bought her electricity on a prepaid meter. She's got a 4-year-old daughter, and he recounted the conversation. This mother said, "I'm making decisions every day whether to put money on my gas and electric or feed my daughter." That's the situation that the West is in, Steve. And I really think from now up until the winter, every single day I'm going to be coming on this show and highlighting the absolute collapse, civilization collapse here in the West as the bite starts to take place due to the consequence of the decisions we've made.
You're going to come on every day, and we're going to do this. Here's why. This was about managed decline by our elites of our nation. This is why Trump beat Hillary Clinton. The managed decline. Now the bottom's falling out. That headline, read that headline again from the Financial Times. Read that headline again to me before we go to break.
In quote marks, Steve, "People are going to die. Verdict from front line of Britain's energy crisis."
People are going to die. By the way, people started covering this just like the 4.9 million when we had Todd Benson on and did the math a couple of weeks ago, right? This was all Dave Walsh. We had Dave Walsh on here he actually the first guy to start walking through where the energy costs are going in the United Kingdom. I put it back up last night, said this is the end of the Tory party. Now you're starting to see, going to see the collapse of industrial civilization because of decisions that are being made about the underpinnings of industrial civilization, and that would be energy. Energy and money. Even as we speak, Ben Harnwell, Breitbart put up a story. I don't know if Denver has it yet, but can you quote, in the last 20 minutes as we were talking, Breitbart put up a new story. What does it say, Ben Harnwell?
Steve, is sanctions war. French and German electricity prices up by 1,000% over the 2021 calendar year. 1,000%.
Give me that percentage again. What percentage was it?
It's 1,000% over the course of 2021.
Ben Harnwell, any closing thoughts, and what's your social media? So you've done such a great job at connecting all the dots on this.
Thanks. I'm exclusively on Getter. My handle is simply my surname, Harnwell, @Harnwell. It's the real account, the red V one that you need to find, not the one of the imitator accounts. You're absolutely right, Steve. What you're saying before, that the people who play by the rules are screwed, and the people who game the system will find the advantages. I don't think there's a better contemporary illustration of that than the current student debt write-off. Those people who worked hard and paid down their debts, perhaps they abstained from going on holiday, perhaps they abstained from upgrading their car, perhaps they bought a smaller house provisionally in order to cancel, to pay down their own debts. These people are shafted, really, they're bent over the table. It's the people who haven't done that that are going to get rewarded here.
Yeah, look, they got to. What about the 2/3 of Americans that never went to college? 2/3 of our country had never even been to college. What about them? What about the truck drivers? What about the people who work with their hands? What about the people who went to trade school? What about the backbone of our nation? You're getting hosed. And if you keep voting for it, you deserve it. You keep voting for it, you deserve it. It's time to wake up. You got to wake up and face reality. And then once you face reality, then you understand this doesn't have to happen. You're perpetuating it. You're perpetuating it. And of course, Biden calls this the rise of fascism. No, we call it democracy. Biden, you're going to get a democracy suppository on November 8th, okay? Come hell or high water. Ben Harnwell.
Yeah, the debt write-off will almost certainly go to the Supreme Court. And whether if the Supreme Court will reject it, and they probably will reject it, the president doesn't have the authority to do this, it will then require an act in Congress, which makes it an election issue. It's November.
We have to bounce. One more time, give your social media.
@Harnwell.
Okay, thanks, brother.